This is a news flash.
Good morning, I'm Darby Travers and welcome to this special edition of 6 News as we continue our coverage on Sydney's COVID-19 outbreak. We have some breaking news and the latest case numbers out of New South Wales are less than an hour away as authorities continue to urge people to get tested. Meanwhile, in Victoria, thousands have been turned away as fears grow about new restrictions. Reporter Lincoln Holmes begins our coverage.
Victorians were urged to get tested, but at many clinics, hundreds of people were turned away in just hours.
How you are controlling this virus if you don't have enough sites? If I have a baby to look after, I can't wait 7 hours.
Victorian residents from New South Wales were also urged to get tested as they returned to Victoria.
I am going to ask people to continue to persevere with us. That's why we've got probably an extra 30% capacity in today compared to yesterday at our biggest centres.
The long delays at COVID-19 testing sites stretched all the way from Melton in Melbourne's western suburbs, Geelong and also Melbourne's metro area.
I thought getting here at 8 this morning would have been okay, but not really.
But as testing sites are overwhelmed, the results are still only taking around 24 hours to be returned.
Victorians are doing a great job following the rules, wearing masks, practicing COVID-safe behaviour. This is all contributing to the low number of cases. 3 new cases, all linked, is a strong and positive sign about where Victoria is today.
6 News can exclusively reveal that there are no plans for a lockdown in Melbourne anytime soon, but it could become a possibility if there is major unknown community transmission in the coming weeks. Lincoln Holmes, 6 News.
Almost 10,000 people will pack the SCG tomorrow for the New Year's test, despite fears it could become a super spreader event. World-renowned epidemiologist Professor Mary Louise McLaws is among those who believed it should be cancelled. In a wide-ranging interview with Connor Elforke, the WHO advisor tells 6 News where spectators are most likely to contract the virus and how you can stay safe.
It's the great COVID paradox. 5 visitors allowed into homes, outdoor gatherings capped at 2,000. Tomorrow up to 9,500 spectators will flood the gates of the SCG.
As Dr. Chant has said 1,000 times, outdoor ticketed environments where people are seated are amongst the safest places to be.
Except it's not COVID safe, according to WHO advisor and renowned epidemiologist Professor Mary Louise McLaws. She spoke to 6 News.
I, as an outbreak manager, would not sanction this for it to go ahead.
How likely is it that an outbreak will emerge from that?
The cricket ground will be okay because they're outside. Yes, but they have to get there. And it's usually public transport. Then they've got to go through the turnstiles, bathroom, food. There are a lot of possibilities.
There are 2 places McLaws warns could become infection hotbeds at tomorrow's test. The first area of concern, public transport. Buses are plagued by notoriously bad airflow.
We've learnt from a bus outbreak in Wuhan that airflow change in a bus is usually less than 3 litres per second per person. That's very low. And I just remind you of the bottle shop in Barella. That bottle shop, people do assist each other. They may get close to you when you're looking at a couple of bottles of alcohol, but you're not going to spend a lot of time. So to me, it says there's probably an airflow problem.
To that end, masks are a must on public transport in Greater Sydney. Once you step foot in the stadium, that mask can be taken off. But even with a mask, Mary Louise warns the dangers of public bathrooms are inescapable.
If you're anywhere in the Sydney cricket ground with poor airflow and you think you can take off your mask for a moment, particularly in the bathroom, where there's usually very poor airflow, please don't. And if you're there for a while, you can get a nose full or even an eye full. We don't know what the dose is into your eyes, but we do know you can catch it through your eyes.
On Monday, the New South Wales government made the shock last-minute decision to cap crowds at approximately 10,000 people, reducing the stadium's capacity from 50% to 25%. The move was prompted by the ongoing outbreak, but still some believe more needs to be done. So what if there was a way to stop infected persons from even entering the stadium? Mary Louise McLaws says there is, with a rapid point-of-care test which has a success rate of 98.5 to 99%.
And you need to add these rapid tests that take 15 minutes while you're waiting to get in and do it by zoning and turn away anybody that is not going to be tested negative.
It's been used in Liverpool for mass screening and with great success.
And they believe they found 80-odd% of cases they would never have found without it.
As for whether this epidemiologist would attend the cricket match,
So I don't go to the cricket because I can't work it out. I used to WAG sport at school, so I could do my homework. But I wouldn't let my husband go.
So how long will it take to bring the Sydney outbreaks under control? Is the worst behind us? And will Melbourne be sent into a hard lockdown at the end of the month? You'll get Professor McLaws' answers to those questions on Sunday. Connor Alforque, 6 News.
And as we mentioned earlier, New South Wales authorities are about to hold a press conference. And of course, we'll bring that to you right here on 6 News. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new national lockdown for England until at least mid-February to combat a fast-spreading new strain of coronavirus. Johnson announced that all schools and colleges will be closed for face-to-face learning except for the children of key workers, with everyone told to work from home unless it was impossible to do so.
As I speak to you tonight, our hospitals are under more pressure from COVID than at any time since the start of the pandemic. The number of deaths is up by 20% over the last week and will sadly rise further. And my thoughts are with all those who've lost loved ones. With most of the country already under extreme measures, it's clear that we need to do more together to bring this new variant under control while our vaccines are rolled out. In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
The new fast-spreading strain of coronavirus has now also reached Australia, with WA Premier Mark McGowan announcing that it has been detected in 3 people inside hotel quarantine in Perth. Aussie travellers could be heading overseas in less than 6 months after Qantas reopened bookings for international flights. Tickets from July 1, 2021 for destinations including London, the US, Hong Kong and Singapore are now officially on sale. A spokesperson said the airline will continue to review and update our international schedule in response to the developing COVID situation. Despite the reopening of bookings, the federal government has not yet indicated when overseas travel will resume. A bone-chilling memo by a medical director in Los Angeles has gone viral, appearing to suggest that paramedics should only resuscitate people in the field, and if that fails, they shouldn't take them to hospital for further resuscitation. This comes as Southern Californian hospitals enter crisis mode due to the COVID-19 cases. Chief Reporter Jack Hahn has more.
It's everyone's worst nightmare. Your heart stops beating. In Australia, scores of guardian angels are on standby to bring an end to that nightmare. Paramedics, first responders, air ambulances, trauma surgeons, all on the ready to resuscitate. But in sunny Southern California, that's not the case. Last week, a medical memo sent by one of LA's top doctors stated, quote, "A patient should be treated at the scene first and have a pulse during resuscitation before transporting them to hospital." This is contrary to the medical belief of the golden hour of care, and that patients should be transferred to trauma centres as soon as possible, with CPR commencing from the onset of cardiac arrest, with resuscitation likely to occur during the transportation of the patient to hospital for efficiency. But the memo states resuscitation should only happen on the scene, despite trauma centres having more advanced medical equipment and access to highly trained specialists. After this memo went viral on Twitter, the medical director stated, quote, "We're not abandoning resuscitation," and claiming that treating heart attack and stroke patients at the scene instead of on the way to hospital can increase chances of survival. This comes as many hospitals in the LA area are moving to contingency care, where staff are working longer hours and resources are rationed. But the next step of care, crisis care. The Californian government has already released guidelines on this horrifying Hollywood movie type scenario, where decisions on who gets care are made based off, quote, "the benefit to populations of patients," even though these decisions may not necessarily be the best for some patients. The memo also stating that care should be given to patients with the highest chance of immediate survival, and that healthcare providers might need to decide to give palliative care aimed at providing patients relief from pain as they die, rather than improving their prognosis. Experts believe the current surge is related to Christmas celebrations, with around 20,000 new cases reported a day in LA. There's now calls for the US Navy's Mercy ship to return. Jack Hahn, 6 News.
Jack Hahn reporting there, and that is the latest from the 6 Newsroom on this Wednesday morning. Don't forget you can stay up to date across all of our social media platforms for the latest on the Sydney cluster. Just search 6 News AU. For now though, I'm Darby Travers. Thanks for your company. Have a good day.